In the vast symphony of the human body, the immune system performs with astonishing precision, striking down pathogens while sparing our own cells. Yet, for decades, one question puzzled scientists: what keeps this immense power in balance? The 2025 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine honors three pioneers, Shimon Sakaguchi, Mary Brunkow, and Fred Ramsdell, whose discoveries unveiled the quiet guardians of our immunity called regulatory T cells. These remarkable cells act as peacekeepers of the immune world, ensuring that our defense system does not turn against its own creators. Their work not only transformed our understanding of self-tolerance and autoimmunity, but also laid the foundation for breakthrough therapies in cancer, organ transplantation, and autoimmune diseases. This is the story of how science uncovered the body's most subtle form of cell control and how that discovery may redefine the medicine of tomorrow. Before we begin this video, let's go through the basic science, and we should first discuss, and I should remind you guys first, what exactly blood actually. So blood is blood, and if it is visible, blood is complex fluid, it is complex fluid connective tissues. So you must be knowing about tissues, है ना? आप लोगों ने basic tissues के बारे में पढ़ा होगा. There are 4 basic types of tissues: nervous tissues, muscular tissues, connective tissues, right? Okay, and epithelial tissues. So connective tissues, for example, we have bones, ligament, tendons. They are example of connective tissues. But blood is also, it is a fluid connective tissue, right? It is slightly alkaline in nature, and if I am saying it is a tissue, so there, blood cells, they float in matrix called plasma. So blood has 2 important components, plasma and other parts are blood cells, right? ठीक है? तो अगर आपको बहुत बेसिक पता है, तो what we should talk about, so suppose this is plasma, by the way, okay? If you can, see this diagram. So you can see in this diagram, plasma, it constitutes around 55% of blood volume. Normally, a healthy human should have blood volume, normal blood volume. बहुत बेसिक साइंस से शुरू कर रहे हैं हम इस क्लास को, so that you could revise, you could brush up your basics, so 5 to 6 liters. Too much blood is also dangerous for body. It will cause, high blood pressure, है ना? तो blood volume बहुत ज्यादा होगा तो भी blood pressure होगा. Just remember this thing. Thickness of blood also causes blood pressure. So typically 5 to 6 liter is and on average. But if you don't have too much blood, if you don't have sufficient blood in your body, then you could be anemic also, right? So 55% of blood volume is plasma, and remaining 45% of blood has blood cells. Okay, let's go through plasma first. So plasma, if we were to talk about constituent of plasma, 90 to 92% of plasma, this plasma, blood plasma, basically it is yellowish color fluid, it has water, it has water, right? So around 7% of this plasma has plasma proteins. I am giving you basic idea before you could understand why this year's Nobel Prize was given, है ना? तो एक बार basic समझ में आपके आ जाए. And there are primarily three types of proteins, plasma proteins. There are other proteins also, but 3 main proteins are albumin protein, which is also found in the egg white. Then another protein is called fibrinogen protein. It is essential protein for blood clotting, right? Albumin protein for osmolarity, for osmolarity or water content, so that in easy language, water balance, body में water का balance बना रहे या plasma में बना रहे, इसके लिए albumin बहुत important role play करती है. Fibrinogen plays important role in clotting, blood clotting, apart from prothrombin proteins and then platelets. And another protein third protein is basically immunoglobulin proteins is there, so I don't just remember, I will remember in few seconds. There are remaining part of the plasma. अगर plasma के remaining part की बात करें, है ना, तो 1% of plasma has other substances in it, है ना, और वो बहुत सारे टाइप के हो सकते हैं. जैसे for example electrolytes, they play very important role. Electrolytes, they make up the alkalinity, alkaline, है ना. तो blood is slightly alkaline, and blood का जो pH होता है, आपको अगर पता हो तो इसका जो pH होता है 7.4 होता है. You must remember this. 7 क्या है? बाउंड्री है. 7 क्या है? जिसका न्यूट्रल होता है. And less than 7 is acidic, and above 7 it is alkaline in nature, alkalines are basics, basically those are soluble, right? Okay, so what we are talking of this, right? तो अगर हम इसकी बात करें तो इलेक्ट्रोलाइट्स इसमें कौन कौन से होते हैं? सोडियम, पोटेशियम, है ना, देन क्लोरीन, SCO3 आयन, हाइड्रोकार्बोनेट, हाइड्रोजन कार्बोनेट आयंस, दे एक्ट एज बफर। तो अगर साइंस की लैंग्वेज में बफर की बात करें तो बफर क्या करता है? बेसिकली बफर का काम होता है पीएच को मेंटेन करना, राइट? उसके अलावा इसमें क्या होंगे? वेस्ट। तो अगर मैं वेस्ट की बात करूं तो फॉर एग्जांपल यूरिया, अमोनिया, है ना, अपार्ट फ्रॉम इट इट हैज क्रिएटिनिन, राइट? जो आप लोग क्या करते हो ब्लड टेस्ट में, यूरिन टेस्ट में, या केएफटी है ना, किडनी फंक्शन टेस्ट में हम चेक करते हैं। देन देयर आर न्यूट्रिएंट्स आल्सो, न्यूट्रिएंट्स दे आर ग्लूकोज, है ना, ब्लड ग्लूकोज लेवल, आपको पता है नॉर्मल ब्लड ग्लूकोज लेवल, है ना? तो ग्लूकोज, ग्लूकोज के अलावा उसमें क्या होगा? कोलेस्ट्रॉल भी होगा, ध्यान रखना, है ना, फैटी एसिड्स, एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट वी हैव ऑलरेडी टॉक्ड अबाउट दीस प्रोटीन्स, राइट? सो तो I was saying about the third protein, it is important for globulin protein, and I was like immunology basically. तो immunoglobulin proteins है ना, they are important for immunity, है ना? तो this is basic constituent of the plasma. Apart from this plasma, blood has three types of basic cells, and which I am going to talk. It plays defense function and other functions also. So for example, first one are called RBC, red blood cells. They are 4.5 million to 5.5 million. ओके, तो रफली 4.5 टू 5.5 मिलियन पर माइक्रोलीटर ऑफ द ब्लड, टू मच, है ना? इसलिए ब्लड क्या होता है? रेड होता है, एंड दे आर टेक्निकली कॉल्ड एरिथ्रोसाइट्स. दे हैव हीमोग्लोबिन, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ हीमोग्लोबिन ब्लड इज रेड. अदर सेकंड वैरायटी इज कॉल्ड WBC, व्हाइट ब्लड सेल्स. दे डोंट हैव एनी कलर पिगमेंट, सो दे आर कॉल्ड ल्यूकोसाइट्स, है ना? और जो थर्ड वैरायटी है उसको क्या बोलते हैं? प्लेटलेट्स. एंड इफ यू वांट टू टॉक अबाउट प्लेटलेट्स, प्लेटलेट्स आर कॉल्ड थ्रोम्बोसाइट्स. They are fragments, thrombocytes, है ना? They are fragments of the cells. And another thing which you guys should remember, these are all they are manufactured in bone marrow, specifically red bone marrow. Okay, so this is the basic idea about the blood. Let's talk about now, focus our discussion on WBC, right? White blood cells, they are basically what they do, they make up the defense system of the body, right? So if you can't see here, so if my face is here, so we can talk about these WBC here, right? I think it will be visible, or we can use another slide for that matter. So let's talk about here. Okay, so WBC, है ना? तो जो WBC के बारे में हम बात कर रहे थे, WBC को क्या बोलते हैं? ल्यूकोसाइट्स बोलते हैं. They are also manufactured at bone marrow. Typically 5 to 7 days is the life span, है ना? तो अगर हम लाइफ स्पैन की बात करें, टिपिकली कितनी है? 5 to 7 days, 1 week. ओके, एंड इफ यू वर टू टेल अबाउट WBC काउंट, कितने होने चाहिए WBC? अगर आप आज की डेट में ब्लड रिपोर्ट्स देखो तो 7,000 to 10,000 पर माइक्रोलीटर ऑफ द ब्लड, right? This is the basic idea. They have amoeba type of shape, this is again amoebic. They keep constantly changing their shapes. WBC has two basic types. One is called granulocytes, they have granules like structures, granulocytes, and other type is called agranulocytes. Agranulocytes are without grains, ठीक है? agranulocytes, ठीक है? इनमें granules like structures नहीं होते. Granulocytes have grains like structure, okay? They are typically of three types. One is called neutrophils. First one is called neutrophils. They make up around 60% or above 60% of the WBC. So they are the vast in number. Okay, 50% से ज्यादा मतलब सबसे ज्यादा है, right? Then others are called basophils, if you have seen our blood report, and others are called eosinophils. So EOSINO, eosinophils. अगर मैं granulocytes की बात करूं, they are of two types, and our discussion is towards lymphocytes, which we are going to talk in detail. Lymphocytes, है ना? और दूसरी जो होती है वो क्या होती है? मोनोसाइट्स होती है ना? अगर मैं लिम्फोसाइट्स के लिए जगह छोड़ दूं तो अनदर वैरायटी इज कॉल्ड मोनोसाइट्स. मोनोसाइट मीन सेल्स. ओके, वन लाइन दे मेक अप अराउंड 30%. इफ वन एक लाइन में हम बात करें तो दे फाइट अगेंस्ट इन्फेक्शन. इफ देयर इज एनी इन्फेक्शन गोइंग ऑन इन द बॉडी, न्यूट्रोफिल्स दे फाइट अगेंस्ट इट. बैसोफिल्स आर typically they have so many works, but they fight against allergic. And if somehow body gets some kind of toxins, detoxification का जो काम है, जहर को खत्म करने का काम है, वो कौन करेगा? इसिनोफिल्स करेगा, टेक्निकली स्पीकिंग। ओके, मोनोसाइट्स आर, दे आर मोटाइल, यू नो, दे आर वेरी एक्टिव एंड फैगोसाइटिक इन नेचर, phagocytic in nature. Okay, they are, okay, phagocytic mean, phago means you know, to eat. So they eat to eats, right, to eat bacteria, germs, etc. अगर मैं इनके साइज की बात करूं तो इनका साइज 7 से 10 माइक्रोमीटर होता है और इनका 10 से 18 माइक्रोमीटर हो सकता है। एंड यू नो 1 माइक्रोमीटर इज 10 raised to power -6 मीटर, 1 in million, right, 1 part of a million. So alright, so this is the basic idea about the blood, which we are going to talk right now, right? अगर हम lymphocytes की बात करें तो there are three types of cells which you should know. You know, one is called B cells, then others are called T cells, and others are called natural killer. Okay, अब यहां से जो हमारा डिस्कशन है, they are called natural killer. That is going to be very important for our discussion today, right? Natural killer. Okay, natural killer. They are called natural killer, है ना? तो अगर हम normally बात करें, I hope you are understanding the basic idea, you know, and I have already made one video on these things. So B cells and T cells, they are related to, let me tell you, or if you want me to write here only, these two cells are, I think I should make up, you know, I should keep, all right, okay, let me, okay, sorry, all right. तो अगर मैं lymphocytes के बारे में बात करूं, है ना, let's go to the another page, and if we go to the another page, and let me change its, you know, if it is visible to you, तो मैं इसका बैकग्राउंड चेंज कर लेता हूं, है ना। लेट्स टॉक अबाउट लिम्फोसाइट्स। तो अगर हम लिम्फोसाइट्स के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, लिम्फोसाइट्स के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, तो लिम्फोसाइट्स में अपने पास कौन कौन सी सेल्स है? दे आर बी सेल्स, यू नो। अब यहां से बहुत ध्यान से सुनना, टी सेल्स, आई हैव ऑलरेडी मेड वन वीडियो फॉर इट, एंड द थर्ड वैरायटी इज कॉल्ड नेचुरल किलर। ओके, थर्ड वन इज कॉल्ड एनके, नेचुरल किलर. These two cells, B cells and T cells, they are concerned with something called adaptive immunity. You know, adaptive immunity and adaptive immunity. Collectively, adaptive immunity, and this natural is called, it is basically based on innate immunity. You go through another video. I have made one video on this immunity. So immunity part, तो जो lymphocytes होते हैं basically, what they are part of the WBC. And B cells and T cells, primary function is what? B cells को जो बोलते हैं, B cells का जो primary function है B cells का, इसका काम है antibody synthesis. Antibodies are proteins, antibody synthesis, है ना। और वो किसके अगेंस्ट होती है? बेसिकली एंटीजेंस के अगेंस्ट होती है। तो इसका काम क्या है? एंटीबॉडी सिंथेसिस, राइट। और इसको क्या बोलते हैं? ह्यूमरल इम्यूनिटी भी बोलते हैं, बाय द वे। इट इज ऑल्सो नोन एज ह्यूमरल इम्यूनिटी. This is also called as humoral immunity, right? Yeah, antibodies mediated immunity. This kind of immunity is called antibodies mediated immunity, है ना। तो इसको बोलेंगे AMI, antibodies mediated immunity. I hope you are getting my point, you know. और जो T cells होते हैं, they are called, they directly attack infected cells, है ना। तो T cells क्या करते हैं? directly attack pathogens. Pathogens are those cells which causes diseases, है ना। तो इसलिए इसको क्या बोलते हैं बेसिकली? एक लाइन में अगर इसको बोलना चाहिए, in one line, what we can say, this is called cell mediated immunity, है ना। It is cell mediated immunity, that is simply called CMI. Okay, innate immunity directly kill infected cells, है ना। तो what it does not need any mediation. तो ये क्या करती है? डायरेक्टली किल, है ना। और अगर ये डायरेक्टली किल करती है, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल कैंसर सेल्स, तो अगर बॉडी में कहीं पर कोई कैंसर सेल्स है तो उसको क्या करती है? नेचुरल किलर डायरेक्टली किल करती थी, है ना। इनके पास क्या है? रिसेप्टर्स है, दे हैव रिसेप्टर्स। इनको बोलते हैं बी सेल रिसेप्टर, BCRs. तो दे हैव सेल रिसेप्टर्स, these cell receptors are called, now this discussion is going towards, and they are called T cell receptors. No receptors are required in these natural killers. No receptors are required. You should understand this thing, right? T cells के बारे में एक चीज और ध्यान रखना, जो डायग्राम भी है पिछले स्लाइड में. This is, if you can see this diagram, थाइमस it is called the training center. This is thymus basically, है ना, बीच हार्ट के बीच में यहाँ पर होता है. This is thymus. Okay, this is kind of gland where T cells matured. T cells matured. और कई बार लोग क्या करते हैं इसको loosely they speak training center of T cells. Training center of T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes को यहाँ पर क्या मिलती है? ट्रेनिंग मिलती है. कहां पर? थाइमस में मिलती है. And otherwise, if you were to talk about these remaining, just a minute. Okay, अगर हम इसके बारे में बात करें, where is my pen? This is my pen. So if we were to talk about this, तो these cells they get matured at bone marrow, है ना? Maturity कहाँ पे होगी? Bone marrow में. It is thymus. Thymus produces thymosin and other hormones also, right? And it is also bone marrow में ही ये क्या होते हैं? Mature होते हैं कौन से cells? Natural cells. I hope this you can see. Okay, no, all right, anyways, so I hope okay, so it's okay, huh? You can see, you know, because I think this color is black because chroma key is working there. All right, so there are various type of T cells. For example, if you were to talk about, there are these B cells are also called basically memory B cells, है ना. तो B cells कई variety की होती हैं. Plasma B cells, तो दे आर प्लाज्मा बी सेल्स, देयर आर मेमोरी बी सेल्स, है ना, मेमोरी बी सेल्स भी होती है. ठीक है, तो ये याद रखती है बेसिकली. यहां पर कौन सी होती है? हेल्पर टी सेल्स, है ना, हेल्पर टी सेल्स. साइटोटॉक्सिक, साइटो मतलब मारना, टॉक्सिक है ना, साइटोटॉक्सिक टी सेल्स, है ना, साइटो मतलब सेल, टॉक्सिक, साइटोटॉक्सिक टी सेल्स. एंड विच आई एम गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट मेमोरी टी सेल्स के बाद जो I am going to talk about T regulatories, है ना, T regulatory cells for which Nobel Prize was given, TREGS, है ना, sometimes it is written as TREGS. All right, okay, so this is what, है ना, this is how it is actually. All right, so I hope this is clear to all of you. Now let's go back to this discussion. तो जो T cells के बारे में जो Nobel Prize मिला है, let's talk about this, है ना. So immune system is what actually what it does. It's the marvel of our immune system is it identify pathogens and differentiate them from the body's own cells. That is the marvel, one of the marvel, है ना. तो T cells का क्या काम है? T cells का easy language में अगर बात करें तो इसका काम है पैथोजेन को आइडेंटिफाई करना, है ना, पैथोजेन, आइडेंटिफाइंग पैथोजेन, है ना, disease causing organism, identifying them and destroying them. But at the same time, what is most important function of immune system and these T cells or immune system at whole, our body's own cells को नहीं मारना, है ना, to sparing our own cells, sparing our own cells. ध्यान रखना, let me tell you quickly. अगर bodies की own cells क्या करती हैं? Suppose body could not distinguish between pathogen, है ना, if immune system, immune cell gets, what do you call it, gets malfunction, है ना, malfunction, है ना, तो हमारा जो इम्यून सिस्टम है वो क्या करता है? हेल्दी सेल्स को अटैक करने लग जाता है. एंड वी हैव ऑटो इम्यून डिजीजेस, दे आर वेरी डेंजरस. हमारा इम्यून सिस्टम क्या करता है? आवर ओन इम्यून सिस्टम व्हिच इज सपोज्ड टू give us protection, it kills our own cells and it causes various problems. For example, one of the best, and it has a link with X chromosome silencing, and sometimes they are more often in female. We are going to talk about it some other day. But for example, thyroid, है ना, जो थायराइड की प्रॉब्लम्स होती है, मान लो T3, T4, these hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, खासकर T4, जो जिसको थायरोक्सिन भी बोलते हैं, ना, if there are too much thyroxine is secretion in our body, there is thyroid kind of problem. Then there is problem of joint pain, severe joint pain, which is called rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis is also now believed that it is because of immunity, immune system malfunction. तो जो हमारा autoimmune disease मतलब है ना, this is also because of autoimmunity, है ना. ओके, तो ऑटो इम्यून सिस्टम अगर मैल फंक्शन हो जाए तो रेमेटॉइड आर्थराइटिस भी हो सकता है. फॉर एग्जांपल, देयर इज अनदर प्रॉब्लम, मल्टीपल स्क्लेरोसिस. इट इज आल्सो वेरी सीरियस डिजीज, मल्टीपल स्क्लेरोसिस, in which what happens, the myelin sheath get demyelinated, so we are again going to talk about it if you don't know about it. So it has to do with the basic neurons. Neurons के बाहर एक covering होती है, kind of protection like we have in our electrical wires. प्लास्टिक की होती है जैसे यहाँ पे, वहां पे फैट्स की होती है, तो वो क्या करती है, करंट्स को लीक नहीं होने देती इलेक्ट्रिकल सिग्नल्स को. And if that get disrupted, if our immune system, for example, our T cells, if they mistaken and they, eat those myelin seed, then it cause multiple sclerosis. Very painful, extremely painful, by the way, है ना. Then there is something called lupus, inflammatory problem, Then another problem, for example, psoriasis, तो आपको पता होगा psoriasis, है ना. psoriasis में क्या होता है, बेसिकली थिक रेड पैचेस हो जाते हैं ना, थिक रेड पैचेस. ओके, फॉर एग्जांपल टाइप 1 डायबिटीज, है ना. टाइप 1 डायबिटीज में क्या होता है, इसको बोलते हैं इंसुलिन डिपेंडेंट डायबिटीज मेलिटस. तो जो हमारा पैनक्रियाज होता है उसमें सेल्स होते हैं जो इंसुलिन प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, एंड दो सेल्स एंड दोस क्लस्टर्स आर बेसिकली कॉल्ड islets of Langerhans. And if our immune system mistakenly kill them, then we have this type 1 diabetes, है ना. For example, other autoimmune disease, Crohn's disease, Crohn's disease में क्या होता है, इसको बोलते हैं inflammatory bowel syndrome, IBD. This is another kind of problem which is linked to autoimmune disease. But normally this is not what is our body is supposed to, and our body doesn't kill our own cells normally, So what was the earlier belief basically, है ना. तो that immune cells तो जो आज तक की अंडरस्टैंडिंग थी, the understanding so far, that was that researchers would believe that these immune cells mature through a process called central immune tolerance. Earlier belief so far, earlier belief. So earlier belief system was something is called central tolerance. सरल भाषा में मैं आपको बताता हूं, इन इजी लैंग्वेज, सेंट्रल इम्यून टॉलरेंस, इसका मतलब ये है इम्यून टॉलरेंस, है ना. तो इसका मतलब सीधा सीधा ये है कि जो हमारा इम्यून सिस्टम है वो क्या करता है, बेसिकली इट हैज some kind of टेस्ट which is has to pass through. तो अगर ये क्या होती है, थाइमस में क्या होते हैं बेसिकली, है ना. लेट मी टेल यू दिस, let me give you another diagram. This you will understand from here. T cells mature in thymus. Thymus, this is thymus, right? Thymus is called basically training center, है ना. So this is what, this is called training center. Now understand the logic. Scientists would believe the one that recognize body's own protein and are sorted and removed. This process is called central tolerance. तो central tolerance में क्या होता है basically, T cells they are matured in thymus and they undergo some type of a test. All these cells has to go some kind of test. मतलब साइंटिस्ट ऐसे बिलीव करते थे, they undergo some kind of test, है ना. और अगर वो टेस्ट में पास हो गए तो उनको क्या बोलते थे बेसिकली, फॉर एग्जांपल तो वो टेस्ट में एंडोजिनस प्रोटीन फ्रैगमेंट्स, है ना. तो कहने का मतलब है व्हाट हैपेंस एक्चुअली, these T cells they undergo a type of test that eliminates T cells that recognize the own proteins, endogenous proteins. उस टेस्ट में अगर उसने अपनी सेल्स को ही क्या कर दिया, मतलब हमारी बॉडी की सेल्स को ही क्या कर दिया, डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया, तो दे फेल एक्चुअली, दे फेल. एंड इफ दे पास द टेस्ट, they are pass on to the, so every T cells has a uniquely shaped T cells receptor on its surface. Special T cells thymus hold out fragments of the body's own protein to the T cells. T cells that attach the part of the body's proteins are eliminated. मतलब कहने का मतलब है एक टेस्ट होगा, उस टेस्ट में ये पता चलेगा कि जो टी सेल्स हैं क्या वो अपनी बॉडी के जो टिश्यूज हैं उनको अटैच कर रहे हैं. इफ दे आर डूइंग सो दे आर फेल्ड, इफ दे आर फेल्ड दे आर एलिमिनेटेड, है ना. They are eliminated. If they pass the test, if they don't attach body's own fragments, then they go to the circulation, general circulation, and this is how body is protected, right? But Sakaguchi, this Shimon Sakaguchi, what he did, okay? So I hope you have understood the basic idea. T cells have receptors. Just understand this, and T cell receptor attaches to the virus fragments. T cells एक्टिवेट एंड अलर्ट इम्यून सिस्टम, है ना. तो टी सेल्स के पास रिसेप्टर होते हैं टीसीआर, दोज आर कॉल्ड टीसीआर, एंड दे अटैचेस टू द पैथोजन, बट एट द सेम टाइम दे कैन अटैच टू द बॉडीज ओन सेल्स आल्सो, एंड इफ दे डू सो दे आर एलिमिनेटेड बाय द प्रोसेस कॉल्ड सेंट्रल टॉलरेंस. दिस इज व्हाट आई वाज टॉकिंग, राइट. सो लेट मी टेल यू दिस, ओके, व्हाट दिस गाय डिड, Sakaguchi, he did some experiment. तो Shimon Sakaguchi, what he did, बहुत सिंपल एक्सपेरिमेंट किया उन्होंने, इंटरेस्टिंग एक्सपेरिमेंट था. व्हाट ही डिड, सकागुची रिमूव थाइमस फ्रॉम द 3-day old माइस, है ना. तो एक चूहा लिया 3 न्यूबॉर्न और उसका थाइमस क्या कर दिया, रिमूव कर दिया. एंड नाउ दिस माइस, दिस its immune system, the mice would develop fewer T cells and have a weaker immunity. That was the hypothesis. So hypothesis क्या था, hypothesis था कि weaker immunity. Hypothesis what was, weaker immunity, and at the same time, so even few numbers of T cells, few number of T cells. That was the hypothesis. What he hypothesized, that was hypothesis कि अगर हम, if we remove the thymus, then the that mice would have what, weaker immunity and fewer T cells. However, होगा क्या कि immune system went into overdrive and what it done, it developed autoimmune disease, है ना, autoimmune disease, autoimmune disease. What it developed, autoimmune diseases, है ना. किसमें, माउस में, माइस में autoimmune diseases हो गई. तो उसके लिए क्या किया सकागुची ने, क्या किया, he isolated T cells from the matured genetically. This is same matured, but newborn का अगर mature होता and what, genetically identical. This mice was genetically identical. What it did, he removed matured T cells and injected back to the same mice again, whose immune system was overdrawn and causing, autoimmune diseases. What he found that there appeared T cells that could protect, and it was healthy. So T cells, some T cells protected this mice from autoimmune disease. And from here, he came to know that these cells are called T regulatory cells. That is the basic idea. I hope you have got the basic idea. And Sakaguchi, what he understood, the conclusion was that there must have some kind of security guards. Those are patrolling, and they are keeping in check the immune system. And these cells, what he called is basically what? T cells, T regulatories, or short में क्या बोलते हैं इसको, Tregs. I hope you have understood the basic, what he did. So Shimon Sakaguchi, what he did actually, he removed the thymus and he was expecting that the mice would have weaker immunity, fewer T cells, but that doesn't happen. What happened actually, the 3-day old mice immune system was overactive and immune system caused autoimmune diseases basically. तो बल्कि और ज़्यादा active हो गया है ना. And then what he did, he removed mature T cells from the healthy donor, genetically identical mice, and then injected back to the same that mice, same type of mice, genetically mice, newborn mice, and he found that it was getting rid of the autoimmune diseases, and because of which cells, he argued that these cells are basically T regulatory cells. Okay, so that is the basic idea. Now, what kind of cells are possible, है ना. तो अगर बेसिक बात करें कि भाई जो T cells होते हैं उनको कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करें, नॉर्मली स्पीकिंग, इफ यू वर टू स्पीक इन सिंपल, सो T cells क्या होते हैं, बेसिकली दो टाइप की होती है. हेल्पर T cells which constantly patrol bodies, if they discover an invading microbes, they alert our immune system and which mount on attack. Killer T cells, they do what actually, they eradicate cells which have infected by the virus or other pathogens, है ना. तो इस तरह से करते हैं. But how to differentiate between these T cells? There is something called proteins. They are proteins. So they use proteins to locate on the cell surface, and this system is called CD. Let me show you. This is called CD, right? So this CD system basically, this CD system was established at the first international workshop on the leukocyte differentiation antigen organized by this and that. Okay, there are 400 types CD markers have been defined so far, thanks to the development of increasingly sophisticated techniques for single cell analysis. Okay, तो कई टाइप के होते हैं इसमें. तो जनरली अगर मैं बात करूं आपको, तो जो हेल्पर टी सेल्स होती है, तो हेल्पर टी सेल्स, हेल्पर टी सेल्स which I was talking, they have this CD4 proteins, they have this what, CD4 on their surface. And there are killer T cells, there are killer T cells, they have, these killer T cells have CD8, this kind of protein on their surface. Okay, this is the basic difference. तो ordinarily what would happen, सकागुची का ने जो autoimmune के बारे में बात किया था, जो T cells होंगे वो कौन से होंगे, CD4 होंगे, है ना. But what he found that जो सिस्टम को जो काम डाउन कर रहा है ना, इम्यून सिस्टम को जो काम डाउन कर रहा है, नॉट ओनली इट हैज CD4 प्लस बट इट हैज CD25 प्लस, you know, and these T cells are called T regulatory cells. You know, this is the technical thing which apart from this you should not know, you don't need to know actually. So Sakaguchi showed that T cells with CD25 on their surface protect against autoimmune disease through an experiment in mice that lacked T cells, है ना, ये प्रूव किया है. तो प्रूफ क्या हुआ है फाइनली? What he demonstrated that these T cells which calm the immune system, you know, they are characterized not only by CD4 on their surface but also a protein called CD25, you know. This is what he demonstrated, right? So that was and these newly identified T cells are called regulatory T cells. Okay, apart from this, the key information, because researchers would be skeptical about this discovery, and you know, these two guys, Brunkow and Fred Ramsdell, they did what actually, they also said Nobel Prize in 2025, and what they did, they did some kind of genetic experiment, a mutation which is causing mutiny in the immune system, and proved that Shimon Sakaguchi का जो तरीका था, that was बिल्कुल, it was correct, and from this, you know, Brunkow and Ramsdell find the स्कर्फी म्यूटेशंस, यू नो, दिस स्कर्फी म्यूटेशन कॉजेज अ म्यूटिनी इन इम्यून सिस्टम, है ना. तो उससे क्या हो गया फाइनली, ये देयर एक्सपेरिमेंट आल्सो फाइनली प्रूव्ड दैट यस, our body has T regulatory cells, you know, for which they shared the Nobel Prize. So that's it in today's class, and I hope you have got the basic idea of our immune system. So robust immune system is critical for the survival and health, right? Without it, we would be highly vulnerable. So I hope you have got the basic idea of, you know, innate immunity and adaptive immunity. I have already talked about it. We have got, you know, cell-mediated immunity or antibodies mediated immunity by B cells, you know, which is called humoral immunity, right? Humoral mediated immunity. Okay. So thank you so very much, and we wind up this class. Thank you so very much. See you guys until next time. Till then, goodbye. Thank you. And most importantly, before going to go, you know, so let me tell you. So if you like the class, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Okay. Thank you. Take care. Thank you very much.